What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife overview to do with you guys. This is the prototype Damned Designs Wraith. This is the liner lock variant. There is also going to be a titanium frame lock variant. If you guys remember, I did do another prototype knife overview for Damned Designs, the Wendigo or Wendigo. This is the same person. This is Adrian D'Souza of Damned Designs. You can see the website right here, which is also where you'll want to go if you want to find information about pre-ordering this knife. This is a prototype, so I'm not going to be doing a review. I'm just going to be kind of going over it and giving my thoughts a little bit. The final product will actually be a little bit different. And by the way, the final product, the production version, will actually be done by Tuya Knife. Couple of knives out there on some major channels. Nick Shabazz actually did a review on a knife that was done by Tuya Knife, so they're getting their name a little more familiarized with the knife community. But anyways, Mr. Adrian D'Souza is a really nice guy. I've talked to them a few times on Instagram. He really wants to get a design out there that people like aesthetically and that actually want to use. I think one of the big things people were calling for after we got a look at the Wendigo was a Sheepsfoot Blade, and I'll tell you this: the execution of this one is awesome. I think he really got it there. I really like the blade on that. Yeah, he really wants people's feedback. So give them a follow on Instagram, and if you want to, after this or after you watch a bunch of different videos on some other great channels that have taken a look at this knife, message him and give him your thoughts. You know, I get the impression that he really wants to put an awesome product out there. Before we get into everything here, I'll let you guys know, as far as I'm aware, you can go to their website and get information on the pre-order. This version right here is actually the version that will be offered with some different choices of carbon fiber scales. What's on it is an interesting scale here, but this is the liner lock variant. When pre-ordering becomes available, you'll be able to get this knife or pre-order it for $125. And keep in mind, this prototype variant has an S35VN blade, but the actual production variant will be M390, so that's pretty cool. It'll retail for $175, but you'll be able to pre-order it for $125 if I'm thinking correctly. And then the titanium variant, you'll be able to pre-order it for $175, and then the actual retail is like $225 on it. So some pretty cool prices considering the materials used, and some other things that I really like, which we're going to go over here in a second. I think that is all the information on that so far. So anyways, let's take a look at this blade. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and measure it here. The overall length of the Wraith coming in at about 7 3/4 inches. From tip to scale, you're looking at about 3.5 inches at the maximum length of the blade. If you want to go by the tip up there, you know, you're probably looking at about, I don't know, 3 1/4. The actual cutting edge is right. It's just a hair under 3 1/4. It's probably about 3 1/8 on the cutting edge. You've got, I don't know if I want to call it a finger choil. It's a very large sharpening choil on that blade. So you're getting a good sized blade considering the overall length of the knife. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1? Rat 1 is coming in at, let's move this guy down here real quick, 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue is coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the newest addition to the size comparison lineup here, the Spyderco Para 3. The Para 3 coming in at about 7 1/4 inches. So we're looking at a knife that's bigger in overall length than the Spyderco Para 3, but a little bit smaller in overall length than the Benchmade Griptilian. This is an interesting size here. It's definitely a sweet spot for a lot of people. I use the term sweet spot loosely because it's such a broad range for so many people, but this is these two knives are going to give the best representation of size. How about a demonstration of the action? If you guys remember correctly, on the Wendigo, I said, you know, the action's a little bit gritty, but this is a prototype, so I'm not going to judge it too much. There's things that are going to change, blah, blah, blah. Let me say this. On this guy, at least the variant that I have, oh yeah, that is some nice action. I'm really impressed with that. That's really nice. We have, we don't quite have a double clutch. If you get your thumb in exactly the right place, you can get it past that detent ball. It just barely clears it. So, like, let me show you exactly where. This is the position that you're in where it's running into the detent ball. So if your thumb is right there, it's going to go past it. You're right on the line though, so some of you guys might experience that if you like to close your knife like this. I tend to kind of push it past and just do that, but really, really impressive on the action, both in terms of the smoothness and the detent. Take a look here at the shape of the flipper tab. It's rounded off nicely, but the jimping is in a good spot, so if you want to push button it, you definitely can. It's more of a light switch, just given the angle and position of the jimping right there. I always want to say jimping. But nice and smooth, definitely. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get a weight on this guy. Weight on this version is coming in at 4.94 ounces. Let's go ahead and go again. 4.94 ounces, just shy of 5 ounces. So this has got a steel liner lock. And on the inside here, you can see there is a little bit of milling. Now, this has already been brought to his attention. A knife of this size, you know, people are saying you could lighten that up a little bit more by putting, adding a little bit more skeletonization. He's aware of that, and I think they're probably going to do that. A knife of this size, you know, it's probably additional skeletonization might bring it down to 4.5 ounces, or if we're lucky, 4.25. But I say lucky lightly because at 5 ounces, me personally, I don't really care. I've always said this, it's always more about the carry profile and how aware of it I am in my pocket. You know, it's a combination of weight and carry profile, right? But a knife like this that's got a good carry profile, I can handle a little bit of excess weight, whereas a knife that only weighs 4 ounces but has some weird, crazy, funky shape and causes me to, you know, have just less room in my pocket because of it, I'm not going to like that as much. So overall weight is not necessarily the end-all be-all, but that being said, he is aware that people would prefer that it's a little bit lighter. So that's my thoughts on that. The liners do go all the way out to the lips. They are not countersunk, so just to let you know there. Let's take a look at this blade. This is an awesome Sheepsfoot Blade, and it's very thin. I mean, it's got to be under, and keep in mind, you're looking at the swedge off the flat. So if you kind of have to look like where the flat is. Here it is up against the Ritter Hogue. The Ritter Hogue is only 125,000, so we have a very thin blade, and the end result is an edge that is quite thin. This is going to be quite the performer in the slicing category. You do have a fine tip, but that's mitigated a little bit by the fact that you have this drop. So there's quite a bit of material behind this tip. Will it break off if you're doing some really, really heavy work with it? Maybe, but it's less likely than, say, a drop point blade that has the same stock thickness, because the tip would come out further and it would be even finer with even less material backing it up. So, you know, as far as the thin blade stock goes, this is a great one. And as long as you're doing things that you would normally do with a pocket knife, you're not going to have to worry about that. We've got a nice satin finish here with some horizontal, it looks like possibly, I don't know if it's a hand rub satin finish that we've got on this flat, but we've got some horizontal lines here and some vertical lines here. Same vertical lines on the upper swedge. This flat runs out about 90% the length of the blade. It's nice and symmetrical. This blade is very well done. Very professionally done final edge. Really like how that looks. This is just a really nice user blade. What we've got up here is some jimping. Now, this has also been brought to his attention because it's on this already thin part of the spine. You know, how the swedge makes that really, really thin. You've got some pretty sharp teeth back here. It's not bad unless you're doing, I mean, if you're really bearing down on this thing with your bare thumbs, you're definitely going to feel it. Now, this is, like I said, it's been brought to his attention. I think his plan is actually to bring this flat up so that we have the full width of the blade and we have some teeth that are a little bit less aggressive up there, so I think that'll be the case. Down here we have a very large sharpening choil. I don't know if it was his intention to create a forward choil, but I would say it's not that. You're putting yourself at risk if you're putting your finger up there. If it wasn't meant as that, then that's fine, but given the amount of blade that was sacrificed for this to be here, I would prefer that we go ahead and just make that a forward choil. I'm biased though. I prefer sacrificing some blade length for some a position to put my finger up there. Take the Para 3, for example. This is a nice short blade, right? And they've sacrificed quite a bit of cutting edge for the ability for you to choke up there. Let me turn these this way so you can see the difference in cutting edge there. Now, I have found that the Para 3, despite having a substantially shorter blade than the Wraith and a shorter blade than most knives at 7¼ inches, is still able to do every single thing that I have asked of it, right? Now I don't demand a lot for my pocket knife, but that's why I'm saying I prefer a full forward choil, and the Para 3 gives a really good example of that. It's not only a choil that you can lock into, but there's that little nub provides an excellent means of safety behind it. Now we don't have to necessarily mimic what the Para 3 is doing, but my point is I'd like this to go ahead and be a full forward choil. And Adrian, you don't have to listen to me. If most people are telling you that they don't want that, then obviously, you know, you should cater to the people who are interested in this knife and what they expect from it. That's just my thought there. Other than that, though, I mean, it's great. The blade is great. It's very smooth. It's very responsive, and it really feels like something that I could put to work. Moving down to the scales here, we have, I don't know what this material is. Is it an orange carbon fiber? It doesn't feel the same as some of these other example scales that I received. By the way, I imagine you'll be able to purchase this knife with a lot of different choices as far as carbon fiber goes. This one's kind of a red or burgundy. And then we also have it looks to be kind of a brown with black carbon fiber. Now, I've also seen blue. It wouldn't surprise me if there's some other colors offered as well. That's pretty cool. I don't know what this is. It's like it feels like a mix between micarta and carbon fiber. I don't think it's micarta, but I don't 100% know that it's carbon fiber. Whatever it is, it looks pretty cool. It's kind of like I don't know. It's like it looks like burlap, but it's kind of orangey, you know. It's neat. It's an interesting material and color. It's probably something common, and I'm just not able to process it properly. We do have titanium hardware in the shape of a hexagon, which is nice because it will keep the pivot from free spinning when you're making adjustments or taking it apart. There's a little bit of texturing down here on either side. What I really like is the slight contouring. I love contouring. It just feels better in the hand. It fills out the hand better. It's got more of a quality feel to it than a blocky, a really blocky scale. This just feels better. We've got a nice large size torque screw there that's larger than that little teeny tiny size that I don't like. So thank you so much for doing that. That's just so much easier on our tools, especially when we're working with titanium and it's a little bit softer than steel. You've got a nice backspacer that is flush with the liners and this awesome spot to put a lanyard. It's really nice. It's really unobtrusive and it looks nice and it's just cool. You have a very simple pocket clip. It's not too skinny, but it's not super wide. It's incredibly simple. It'll do its job. It's going to carry the knife about right here. My only issue with it is it sticks up quite a bit. I feel like this could be smaller and closer to the pocket. I always like pocket clips that have a little bit of a dip to them, but if this is what I will say is that this goes along with the overall look of the knife. You know, in some situations, you don't have to like max out the utility of a pocket clip. You know, I really, really like the pocket clip on the Hogue Ritter, and I really like the MXG Deep Carry pocket clips. But am I at that much more of an advantage with a pocket clip like that versus a pocket clip like this? No, it's pretty minor. So in that situation, you know, you could make the pocket clip the most utilitarian shape possible, but then you sacrifice the whole look and theme of the knife by doing so. So, you know, it's a balancing act. I think the pocket clip on this is fine. I would just like to see it not stick up quite as much because we end up with some pretty substantial thickness. For an example, putting it up against the Rat, which is already considered a thick knife, you can see there we've got some pretty substantial thickness in the scale, and then with the combination of the pocket clip, we're up there. Is it a deal breaker? Is it something you guys should be concerned with? No, I'm just pointing it out. It probably sounds like I'm being more critical than I actually feel. I actually don't have a problem with the thickness of the knife or the pocket clip. If he decides to leave the pocket clip exactly the same way, it's still going to work just fine. It's just food for thought. This is a liner lock variant. It is locking up perfectly solid. No blade play, up, down, left, right. It actually feels really, really solid. Stop pin is not internal. It is back here on the outside. You can see that there. We are running on bearings. Like I said, very, very smooth. I really like this. And honestly, this is a substantial, upgrade from my experience with the Wendigo. And I liked the Wendigo, but I was like, well, the final product's going to be different. What I told him is I said, he showed me all these different blade designs. He showed me the Sheepsfoot and he showed me the Tanto, and I think he showed me a drop point variant. And I said, I think people will really like the Sheepsfoot. and I said, I really like this bizarre tanto thing that you've got, this stubby tanto, because it's unique and different. And it turns out that more people were thinking sheepsfoot, you know. And I think that I don't know what his plans are as far as that modified stubby tanto are. You know, I don't know if he plans to do that in this exact model, this one you're seeing right here. But the Sheepsfoot Blade is awesome, and that would have been my second choice. So I'm really glad that people gave him enough feedback to say, hey, yeah, you know, this is what we want. As far as the execution of this knife goes, the main things are there. We've got action. We've got the blade shape that's going to function. We've got good ergonomics. And we've got a knife that's going to ride in the pocket and has a good carry profile. As far as the end result, you know, what we know is going to be in the production version is the M390 blade, and it looks like there's going to be lots of choices for the actual scales and the colors of the scales, things like that. And then the titanium variants will probably have different colors in the anodizing. That's great. If he decides to, what would make it perfect for me, fix that issue with the jimping up top, make that very large sharpening choil an actual finger choil, and then just bring that pocket clip down just a little bit, and you have a winner. Honestly, you've got a winner even if you don't make all those changes. If he decides to leave the pocket clip alone and he decides to not mess with the choil, then you still have a winner. One other thing that I would be cognizant of, and it looks like we're right there. You can see the detent ball path is right on that line. It doesn't feel like it's affecting... Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's affecting the action. So it's right there on that line. I don't know if bringing it back just a touch would help, but it might be in the final, you know, just in the engineering and design of the knife. It just kind of needs to be there. But if I'm being honest, it doesn't. I brought that up to him with the other knife, and it looks like they brought it back just a touch. It does not feel like it's affecting the action or anything like that. But honestly, the one thing that absolutely needs to be addressed is the jimping up top. Everything else, you know, I would accept it, but if those other changes were made, I think it would be a real winner. I'm exceptionally excited about the prices that he's offering for pre-order. That's really, really cool. And honestly, there's still pretty darn good deals at the retail prices. I'm hoping maybe they'll be offered a little bit less than retail, you know, when they actually go for sale outside of pre-order. But yeah, if you can get your hands on one of these, you know, for the pre-order prices, then that sounds pretty good. If the production variants are you know, just a touch better than the ones that we're looking at here, then those are going to be really, really excellent value knives. I hope I got all of my thoughts out in a way that you know, kind of makes sense to you guys. I'm excited about this knife. I'm excited to see this go forward. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to take a look at my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.